English ladies, farewell and adieu to you ladies of Spain, for we've received orders to sail for old England, but we hope in a short time to see you again. We'll rant and we'll roar like true British sailors, we'll rant and we'll roar all on the salt seas, until we strike soundings in the channel of old England. All you Chanticleer is 35 leagues. We hove our ship to when the wind from southwest, boys. We hove our ship to, deep soundings to take, 'twas 45 fathoms with a white sandy bottom, so we squared our main yard and up channel it made. We'll rant and we'll roar like true British sailors, we'll rant and we'll roar all on the salt seas, until we strike soundings in the channel of old England. All you Chanticleer is 35 leagues.
Fill up the flooring slimes again, with foam on every lip. We'll give a score and shout, "Glory, nasty fellowship!" And When we idle overnight, we cast the waiting waves. May we drink to love all our live long days.
Now, let's see. Sprinkle? Okay. Any movement? Nothing at all. It's working. Tom! It's working! It's working! Right. 500 turns each till we get to the top. All right.
The man in the cockpit is Murphy. World War II is ended, but Murphy's war has just begun. Director Peter Yates, who won international acclaim with the sensational thriller Bullet, now gives a new look to screen adventure with Murphy's War.
And we're hot, we're live. Well, hello everybody, and welcome to another scintillating episode of Max's Models. I have Steve on the phone, and let's get a voice check, guys, if you can hear us okay. If you can let me know. Steve, you want to give me a count?
5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
It'll take a little while for me to get the answers, but I think they can hear us. I'm showing registering here that everything's going out, all the lights are red. I was wondering how to get rid of the echo of the sound on this microphone, because I was getting this kind of, I see people using the exact same microphone doing podcasts, and we're getting much higher quality sound. I was like, what am I doing wrong? I'm going to turn around. I had it set the way you're supposed to have it set when you're doing a podcast, you know, where it picks up sound only from one direction. Helped if I didn't turn the microphone around.
Oh, well.
So now we're facing the right side of the mic. There is a side for that anyway. Okay, okay, they can all hear us just fine. Well, guys, first off, welcome. I'm glad you could make it, and we'll try and keep this about models on this episode. And we'll see how that goes. But
surprise, surprise,
surprise. By the way, we're already off on our first tangent. Speaking of surprise, you know, Jim Neighbors' Gomer Pyle, the woman who played his girlfriend, Luann, just passed away the other day. And I've really got to quit watching Legacy.com. I'm getting to that age where I start reading the obits looking for my own name. But anyway, so you know, Luann, you know, now Ellie Mae's gone, and I think, you know, we've lost Samantha. I mean, I think Jeannie's the only one left. But and she's in her 90s and looking good too. The girl's holding together really well. Maybe she really is a genie. But
she's like 92, I think, and she gave an interview about 2 weeks ago. She still looks really good.
No, she looks great. It's just, you know, that's how you do it. So anyway, we were
living in that bottle. That's what did.
Most people I know who live in their bottle don't age well, but that's a whole nother thing.
Wow. Yeah, well, she didn't need sunscreen. You know?
So anyway, Ken will be with us later. Hopefully, he's driving home from the boat, so he's going to call when he gets home. So I love the work you guys did on the Hollywood movie and TV movie scene. A lot of great submissions. I'm going to give you the confession I just gave Steve, that those World War I airplanes I put together in the movie scene. And by the way, I want to thank I think it was it Garfield or John Kitt that sent me the little camera crew. I appreciate that. But I had taken those pictures as this is what I plan to do and build a diorama and everything. And I got so busy with all the other projects that when I realized, holy crap, this thing goes up like today, I don't have time to build my base and everything. So I just, you know, what the heck, I'll just use the photos I was using for the, you know, so at some point I do hope to build that as a proper diorama. Steve, I've got a few of the builds up here. Steve, let's go ahead and, since we got you on the horn, I love your Green Hornet build. Let me put that up.
Oh, thanks.
Hold on, let me put it way up here. There we go.
Now, I can't see what you're doing.
Well, I'm doing is cycling through the 4 photographs that you sent me, but let me get on the cycle a little slower here. Hang on, let me transform. No, that's not what I want. Let's make that every 8,000 milliseconds. That's how this thing measures its stuff. Okay, back 8. Okay, now the pictures will cycle a little slower. So tell us about. I mean, this is going to rotate to the through the four pictures. So why don't you tell us about this build?
Well, when I saw that Round 2 AMT was coming out with a 25th scale Black Beauty, I said, you know, if I could get my hands on a 25th scale 66 Chrysler 300, I could do the garage scene from the Green Hornet with the 2 cars on the turntable, as only a modeler would think when somebody announces that they're making a kit of a certain car.
Mm-hmm.
So the biggest problem I had was finding the kit of the 66 300, because there's virtually none to be found. I mean, I scoured the world, and I went to a model kit show in Philadelphia about a year ago, and there was a guy who had old vintage kits, and I asked him if he had a 66 300, and he said, no, I have a promo. So he showed it to me. I asked him if I could see it, but it was a hardtop. And I said, okay, we agreed on a price, and I cut the top off of it.
So this is a kit bash then. Your 300 is a kit bash, sort of.
Pretty much. I cut the top off of it, and I had I had a convertible boot left over from another car. I put that on there, and therein lies the 300. Then I built the Black Beauty. I built it, straight out of the box. Now, you can build that kit in 2 versions. You can build it with all the gadgets deployed, or you could just build it as the driving car.
Mm-hmm.
So since the car was going to be sort of in the garage mode, you wouldn't have everything deployed. I built it with nothing being exposed in terms of gadgets and rockets, stuff like that.
Well, that means you got to buy another one so that you can make it with all the goodies.
Yeah, I have a few more that I will make with the goodies. Then when to do the garage, I looked at a lot of YouTube videos of that particular scene, and I went out and bought a bunch of Plastruct and sheets, and I bought some square Plastruct tubing, and just kind of glued it all together and made it. Drilled holes for the turntable through the supports of the Plastruct so it would rotate.
You're going to motorize that later on, right?
Say that again?
You're going to motorize this later on?
I am. I have the motor, but I didn't hook the motor up, at this point because I was lagging behind for the build. So I said, well, let me, just get it together and paint it and all set up, and I'll do it manually for the pictures. I do have a motor, which I purchased that will do it, and I do have green lights, which I will put there and I will add to the walls so that when you flip the switch, the lights will turn green, the car will rotate by itself. Well, and I use the parts, I use the decorative garage items are the AMT garage scenes kit.
I was going to ask you about those. Yeah.
Huh?
I was going to ask you about those.
Yeah, that's the AMT garage accessories kit.
But the old Green Hornet kit, the previous one, the Black Beauty kit, that was small scale though.
Yeah,
right?
that was 32nd.
Yeah, and so nobody makes that version of the Chrysler as a kit.
What, the 300?
The convertible, yeah.
Yeah, well, that was a Johan kit in '66.
But I guess that supply is depleted.
But it's probably, yeah, it was probably one of the molds that got sold off by a disgruntled Johan employee because
it just means there's opportunity, you know.
Yeah. So, like I said, luckily, after a lot of searching, I was able to find a promo and just lopped the top of it off, and it, you know, I mean, it had an interior, it had wheels, and you know, I detailed it up, and there it was.
Well, you know, it's kind of ironic in a way that, you know, you met and we got to talk. I got to email with Andy Yanchus, and he was one of the two guys that built the original 110 scale models for that scene. What surprised me was to find out that even the external shots of the character's apartment were done with models. In fact, it's slightly reminiscent. I found a picture online, slightly reminiscent of what you have here. They built the external, the back wall, I guess, of his apartment with the sliding glass door, and just set the model in front and used that for establishing shots. And, you know, I used to think that is such an expensive and time-consuming way to do it, but then you would think about what it takes to take a crew out on site.
Right.
I was actually...
You know, and let's face it, how are you going to flip two cars around on a turntable?
Well, no, but I'm talking about just for the car was just parked out on the grass outside his apartment.
Oh,
you know.
Yeah, but I mean, I'm talking about you got two 4,000.
Oh yeah, yeah. There was no way they were doing that with real cars. No, of course not.
No.
And what surprised me was Andy. And I forget who was with him, the other gentleman that built the models with him.
I think it was Andy and Derek Brand, I think were the
I was going to say Derek Brand, I think it was. And, you know, that was block wood. They started off with a block of wood. I mean, most of the photos of Andy in the shop, he's by, you know, woodworking equipment. Because he was making pattern masters out of wood, which...
Well, Andy's first job was to design slot car bodies for Aurora model motoring.
But he had to cut them out of wood.
That was how they made the pattern.
Yeah. You know, who was it? Gia Marino wanted him handing 2 pictures of the Mangusta and said, Andy, can you make that? I mean, okay, I guess. You know.
Yeah. And that was day one on the job for Andy.
Yeah. I mean, here's your baptism of fire, kid. There's your flak vest. Good luck. We're all counting on you. But Andy, he would have loved to have seen this. But Andy also, what I was, you know, we put it in that thing we did on it, was the one that was telling me that, you know, they were not allowed to sell the cars to the studio because Andy and Derek weren't Hollywood Union model makers. And so they technically leased them to get around that rule. And then, of course, the models just disappeared. They never got them back because they were supposed to send them back. And I'd love to know where those models are now.
For them to get licensed.
I'm losing you there, Steve.
The rights to produce the show.
Uh-huh.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
What?
For those who don't know, Steve's in his car, and where he lives sometimes his coverage is a little spotty. Ken's in his car, and he's going to try and join us later. So this is a highly mobile live stream until those guys get home. Okay, so you were saying about license?
To get licensed.
We're losing you there, buddy. Okay, well, once he gets to where he has contact, we will get back to it. Okay. That's the first time I've heard you in a couple of minutes. You were talking about to get the license.
In order for Aurora to get the license to make the kit, they had to make those 2 cars to be used in the scene.
Uh-huh.
That was the deal, besides paying the licensing fee. So, technically, Aurora owned those cars, and they loaned them to Greenway Productions to make those scenes.
Right.
And they were supposed to get them back, and they just disappeared, never to be seen again.
Yeah, you know, somewhere some director's kid has that sitting in his office or something. But
I mean, it's a shame because they made those things by hand.
I guarantee
they were very
It's like
Very
Roddenberry's
accurate
3-foot Enterprise that just resurfaced and has caused quite the little legal stink, I might add. If those models suddenly, resurface, they assuming they're in any kind of condition, and you could actually get legitimate ownership of them, they'd probably be at least $3,000 a piece just for the history of them. But as we get older, and they probably become worth less because you aren't Green Hornet and what he was. A lot of people today mention that, who? But to a collector.
Well, no. I mean, like the Kid of the Black Beauty. I mean, for anybody who's a fan of the show, this new kit by AMT it's just a great kit. I mean, it goes together easy. It has all the gadgets. It is a dead-on representation of what the car looked like. Mm-hmm. And it makes a really nice kit.
Well, don't forget to send me some. Don't forget to send me some regular pictures of the car for the regular viewers build.
Okay.
But you did a great job on that. It's really cool. It's got a lot of comments in the comment section about it. One of the others.
Well, it just shows you what it's like when you're a modeler. That somebody announces they're going to make a kit, then all of a sudden your mind just snaps into gear. Well, I could make this.
It goes into what could I do with that mode? The idea kind of forms itself. I think the first submission I got when I announced we were going to do it was the I believe it was the North by Northwest, and I believe the Glue Trooper actually sent me more pictures, but I seem to have lost them, but I did have a couple of them. But he did a nice lighted image of the where the crop duster crashes into the truck.
The gas truck.
Yeah. The thing I could never figure out in the movie is what the heck was going on for real. I mean, these guys are chasing him, they're shooting at him, and then the plane just crashes into the truck. I'm like, could you unpack that a little bit? And I'm guessing, because unless somebody knows seen something in the movie I didn't see, my guess is that they hijacked the airplane and him and the pilot got in a fight, or the pilot decided to kamikaze because he didn't like being hijacked or something like that. I don't know. But I never quite understood. They never explained why the airplane flew into the truck. Unless I missed something in the movie.
Wind shear.
Yeah. But anyway.
And it wasn't even a Boeing plane.
Out too soon. But
okay.
But I like that. That was very creative. That was a very very creative diorama. There were a lot. They were all great. The one with Lone Wolf McQuaid's car, I found that to be a nicely done one, and I hadn't seen that movie since it came out, so I went back, to get the audio. Oh yeah, the truck coming up from underground. I'd forgotten about that. Back from the grave. What's that? It's like that. That's when Chuck Norris was like at his peak, just making movies left and right. And I remember seeing some of them in the theater, and he's it hurt me. Somebody goes, hey, Chuck Norris is like 80 something years old. I'm like, no, he's not. He's Chuck Norris. And I looked like, oh, good God.
Yeah, okay.
I still wouldn't pick a fight with him, kiddo.
No.
I love that Chuck Norris T-shirt. Somebody has it. Chuck Norris went to the women's rally in D.C. He came back with a freshly pressed shirt and a sandwich. And they have one of my nephews has the Chuck Norris T-shirt. It's like Chuck Norris doesn't comb his hair. He just looks in the mirror and it falls into place.
Yeah. Of course, he's Chuck Norris.
Of course, he stares it into place, But lot of nice work there. He actually sent a couple of pictures of him doing the build and the character. And again, I think the one that everybody found the most moving of the whole bunch, though, was probably the Bridges at Toko-Ri one, and they're all good. I never pick favorites, but that one I found particularly moving and excellent representation.
That was my favorite of all of them. It was very well done. It accurately presented actually what happened in the movie.
Mm-hmm.
And it was a great job of the landscaping and the helicopter and the jet. It was really, really well done. I mean, that was my favorite. Not that the others were.
No, I know what you mean.
Good, but I like that movie, and that happens to, it just hit a chord when I looked at it.
Well, I when I was in the Army, I had orders for Korea to serve the DMZ, and because I had a flight school application in, they flagged the orders, but I was supposed to go up there, and I always told myself if I ever get captured by the North Koreans, like, why are you here? Because I'll never forgive you for killing Mickey Rooney. Let them try to figure that one out. But I believe, I've heard it said, and I agree, I think The Bridges of Tokyo-ri is the best anti-war movie ever made.
I'd agree with that.
And
of course, Major Kong would disagree.
Well, Major Kong was, BS crazy. Although the one thing everybody remembers from Doctor Strangelove is him riding that rocket, riding that bomb. And but all the builds were good, and except for mine. Mine was a slapdash thing that was just supposed to be a placeholder. But I was like, well, I should submit something, so I'll just stick it in there. And I just hope everybody had a good time, and a lot of imaginative stuff there. And
it was a really good idea for a group build because it made people make something more than just one or two kits.
Yeah.
They had to sort of interact with something that was, a real thing at one point.
Mm-hmm. Well, kudos to everybody. Great jobs all around. I'm just trying to make this a little smaller here. And everybody should be very proud of themselves. Great work. And all right, just put a few more. You know what? I'll just take these down. They're getting distracting. So, anywho, and I just wanted to thank everybody for their submissions. Now, as you guys know, I just built this STUG 4 from Tamiya. And a couple of glue troopers have in their stash built it before. One of them was telling me it's a mid-70s mold and everything, which means that they did all this long before the days of CAD CAM or anything. And we just... There we go. But it is rare, after all the problems I've had, to build a kit that gives you no argument. And I was insane level of detail, right down to how you hang the shirts and armor, just the way they did it on the real vehicles. And I've built a lot of monogram kits, and I think the monogram kits are solid, respectable kits. But Tamiya took it to another level. And
that's what they do.
I just, what is it they're putting in the water there in that prefecture? I did use a stencil I actually hand painted the wheels and then just used a stencil for cleanup. Made life a little easier. Appreciated the shirts and armor. That helped. That actually looked better than I thought it would when I was done. There's 101 different ways you can paint these things. So the Germans kept changing their camouflage patterns, and but I just I highly recommend that kit if you want a STUG. And I thought my brother had one as late. I think he actually had the monogram kit, but I've got it up there on the wall now next to the
price if you want to choose from.
We have some kind of operation going on here, Steve?
No, I lost you there for a minute.
Oh, okay. Let me see if I've got a picture here. Ah, here we go. There's all of them. Oh, that's right. You're driving. You can't see what I'm doing here.
Oh, sorry. Nope.
I'm showing all my German armor up on one line. We have the Tiger 1, the Mark IV, and then the Stug. All of them in pretty radically different paint jobs. Well, I don't know. The Tiger and the Mark IV, both in kind of European camo. But I'm sorry, if you build militaria, everybody I know loves to build German armor. There's something very intriguing about it, partly because it's big and heavy, and the irony is that you know what it is. Sherman tanks are boring to look at. They just look like a tank. They look like a picture of a tank a kid would draw, and we usually just painted them green, put the white star on them, and trucked them down the road in big enough numbers to overwhelm the enemy. There really aren't that many, at least in World War II, there aren't that many. Let's just say one can of TS5 can do your whole American armor. It's pretty much all drab everything, I don't know. The European and German stuff, it just looks cool. There's a reason the stuff's legendary. I'll probably build a Sherman to put up there, but every time you put a Sherman or any American armor up there, you splash mud on it and things to give it some character and stuff, but it's just like this green lump. Of course, when you make 48,000 green lumps, but for model builders, I think a lot of what they build is just because it looks good on the shelf. And few things, when it comes to land vehicles, few things look better than German armor. Now I've got to build this Panther over here that Garfield gave me to go with it. That's the one thing that's missing. And I got to get a Tiger 2 also. Yep, then I'll pretty much have the whole thing. All of the ones that matter.
You'll have your own army.
There you go. Then I'll have to put my Pershing, build a couple of Shermans laying an ambush for them. Well, usually they were laying an ambush for us. People forget we were on the march. We were the ones moving, so they just got to sit and lay ambush after ambush. That gets expensive after a while. That's what the Stugs were so good for, because they had that low silhouette. They didn't have a turret. Here's a crossroads. Let's put a couple of Stugs out there, pre-mark all our targets, just wait for the Americans or the British to come trolling through, which is pretty much what we had to do in those days. People, I swear, everybody in the kit model business that makes tanks makes a Tiger 1. That is like, and most likely they don't have any trouble selling them. That has got to be the most modeled tank ever. But, my wife asked me a question today that I thought was kind of an interesting thing. She was asking me, what are, are there models that have things that work and I said, yeah, they call it play value, like the monogram kits that had the bomb that would drop, or the F-105 with the ejection seat that would pop out, and a few of the other models that had things that work on them. And she goes, well, plastic seems pretty delicate for that. I said, it's a terrible idea. The stuff always breaks, but it sells. That's the thing. They buy, a lot of the Bondi stuff did that. My Interceptor, my UFO Interceptor, although it's a good scale detailed kit, although the pilot was wildly off scale, way too small, but it actually had that nuke on the nose would fire, pop off. I'm like, that's a useless thing to do. You don't want to make them for kids because they're too delicate, and plus the thing just gonna, and then after about 3 tries, the spring broke and I wasn't gonna tear it apart, so of course now it's permanently on there. But I was thinking, what are some of the worst ideas for moving parts for kits? Now I can understand, my attitude was, when you had airplanes that had moving flaps and ailerons, that's just so you could position them, not so you could play with them. Of course, I used to play with mine as a kid, which is why virtually none of them survived to today. But as I got older and started building them, they just went on display. But I can understand like the movable ailerons and flaps and things like that in case you want to pose it, or wheels going up, wheels going to hell. I'll fold the wheels up, fold the flaps up, and hang it from the ceiling. Oh, hey, listen, I'm going to move it over on the shelf. I'll put the wheels and flaps down and be a more interesting pose. That I get. Shoot out your eye. Yeah. But
Gulf Hawk operating landing gear.
I have one, and it's in the next room, and I actually got it to work. And I'm currently working on that Sky Raider, that 1:40 scale from Revell that has and I haven't finished building the gear yet. And it actually tells you when you're building it, you have to lubricate certain parts during construction so it'll work. And I think it was Frankie Day built one and got it to work, and he demonstrated. I was like, well, at least I know it works. I might be missing a part, and that's one of those things that if you're missing one part, it's not going to work. Amazingly complex mechanism. I thought I was going to do it for the Vietnam build, got into it, and realized, whoa, this is way more than I bargained for. And plus one of my wheel doors that goes over the top knuckle is missing, which isn't a big deal. I can fabricate or vacuum form or you can just go without it. I mean, it's just a little aerodynamic fairing that goes over the joint. But I'm like, Jesus, this is going to be all these little plastic parts have to work in unison, and that's going to be a process right there. And then you got to paint everything, and you know how paint intrusion always screws up any moving part. And in fact, that's one reason I built the Stug and then painted it. I realized that they essentially more or less molded it in color, and I got my rattle can of Tamiya lacquer in the correct color. And when I got the model together and started hitting it, you could hardly tell where the paint went, except that it was a flat paint, so it flattened out. But it was like they were so close on the color, and I imagine that makes sense. So if a kid buys a model, can't afford to paint, at least he's got something that looks right. But I painted it. I only left off the external parts that had to be hand painted, and I didn't really have any problems. I was actually surprised at how well everything worked. And those rubber centered. What?
Modeling, making models in color, which is usually frowned upon by a serious modeler.
Mm-hmm.
But it has a practical use because it gets younger modelers into the hobby.
Mm-hmm.
Because they don't have the skills to do the painting. But when they put it together, it's a fairly accurate representation. They just put the decals on it, and it looks good. And it gets them interested in the hobby, and then they progress. But, that's really the rationale, except for the fact the Abe Shikes version, which is, well, we had this here, it was cheap.
We had all this leftover pink clay, so,
Right.
Well, the fact that it was molded more or less in color meant that as I laid the spray paint over it, if there were any thin spots, they didn't show, and that's nice. But most of the models, I usually pre-paint all the parts on a model and then assemble it and then come out and touch it up later as much as I can, because you know how hard it is to get to parts even with a fine brush. And I decided, you know what? There's always problems with adhesion because the glue screws with the paint, messes up the paint job, whatever. And I understand with like a car engine or something. Although some guys the HPI guy, I think he details his engines after he builds them. But
some people do that,
Now, of course, the nice thing about
he usually spray paints his engines as opposed to brush paints.
But I think if he's the one I'm thinking, he goes in later and paints colors on the oil filters and stuff just so I may be thinking of someone else, but they make it look pretty easy. I wasn't the HPI guy, I forget who it was. So some guys like to brush paint the details after they put it together. I like to paint everything in advance. The only problem you run into is sometimes the glue and the paint, how it takes it forever to harden with those little nibs and knobs, sometimes it's hard to keep the surface, plastic on plastic exposed. But and what surprised me about this one also was the tracks. I tried using thin glue and it held for a second, then popped. So I used the thick glue, clamped it for an hour. Was very careful with it, but didn't have any problem getting the tracks on. They didn't break, and they seem to be holding okay. And with the Tiger tank that I had done, the Tamiya Tiger, it actually came with the plastic link by link track. So they don't roll because they're glued in place. And that was a mixed blessing. You got to paint every one of them, and then you got to go in and glue every one of them in place, or lay them down and make a string of them to go into the bottom. And that's kind of a pain, but that allows you to build in track sag and everything else, and you don't have to worry about vinyl or rubber coming undone on you. The Monogram kit was like the other Tamiya kit, the Stug. It had the rubber band tracks that you had to glue together. Personally, I don't think anything beats just a nice looped one-piece stamp track that just doesn't, you just stretch it, And I think what I would do is, if I was making armor models, I would make the tracks one looped piece that you don't have to glue together, but make sure that the material was elastic enough you could get it on without breaking the wheels off, and loose enough that it would sit with a little maybe a little bit of track sag, but it would look good. And that wouldn't, I don't think that'd be that hard to do. Nothing beats metal link tracks, but those things are expensive because you have real metal tracks that get real sag.
The reason they don't make the one piece like you just said, which would be perfect, is because it's expensive to mold it that way.
I'm sure it would be. I will say this though, it
would work.
I'll tell you something you could do. I'll tell you something you could do with a strand track that's a lot simpler than what they do, and that is just have the ends have one working link pin. So you just wrap them together and just run the pin through like a real track, and you're done. And that would not be expensive to make. There's a thought. Because those Aurora tracks are made out of imperviousness and unobtainium. Oh, Ken's here. Let me dial him in.
All right.
Let's merge. Hey, Ken. Whoop, merge. Ken?
Yep.
Okay, we're all together now.
Hey, Ken.
Hey,
Hey, Ken.
Hey, Steve.
How you doing? How's it going, Captain Ken?
Just got back from the boat.
Das Boot.
In the process of taking apart the aft cabin where the air conditioner is because I bought a new one.
Hooray! Ken has
There you
AC on the
go.
boat.
Look at that.
Now I can
progress.
come out and visit.
Boy, by December, you'll have that thing blowing cold air.
It
Now, don't
better be
forget-
a little sooner than that.
And don't forget, I just had a $900 air conditioner repair, so I'm feeling his pain. But I'm not sure, but
I just spent 3.5 boat units on this one.
not 3.5 boat units. Boat, break out another 1,000. But now one thing I did do different on this Stug was I have all of my crew members in the other tanks in the standard German black Panzer uniform, but as I saw in the artwork, this is, I wish this had a different kind of zoom function. On the Stug, can't really tell, but I gave him a camouflage smock, all blotted and everything. It looks cool. Gave him the black pants and everything, but I just thought that blotted camoed top looked better. Man, I really like that kit. I still have two little pieces to put on the back. One thing about the Stug is that there's the tracks hardening. Let me see here. There's one little tiny piece that's about the size of a grain of salt that I dropped and never found. What was it? But let me see if I can find a picture of the rear of it. The thing is so ludicrously detailed. I don't know if I actually took the pictures, but on the back there are two little L-shaped handles that, hold on, let me go find that picture. Open image. Let's see, I know I got a picture. Is it? Oh, that's the front. Here we go. Okay. On the back of the thing, there are these, on each side, on top of these, I don't know what they're pistons that go into the axle. You see these two little holes. There are these teeny tiny, and I mean tiny L-shaped handles that go on there that I glued in there. But apparently, I must have accidentally brushed them off. Only found one of them. I need to glue it back in. But I was like, just the detail is just ridiculous. I'm like, I wonder if it's possible to have too many details for a model. And I have the set of road wheels in their little holder on the left side, but they give you 4 extra road wheels instead of 2, so I'm guessing the other 2 go someplace. I think Trey told me they usually would just stash them behind the shirts and armor on the right side, but you can go online and look at pictures. Where's all that wind I'm hearing coming from? I'm hearing a lot of air in the background. Ken?
Not for me. I don't know.
Steve, are you driving the window down? Steve?
Yeah?
Are you driving with a window down or something?
No.
Getting some kind of...
All windows are closed.
Getting some kind of wind noise.
What about yours, Max?
I'm in the office. I'm actually doing the live stream, from, home.
Maybe it's the strength of your new air conditioner blowing.
Ooh, there you go.
No, I'm here coming over the phone. Oh, well. Maybe you got AC in your car on it or something. Anywho. So, but one of the things that I really have started getting a kick out of about tanks is it's so much fun to paint them because you can't make a mistake because they're tanks. You get a smudge, like, battle damage, man.
That's right. Mess it up, battle damage.
Yeah, he'll just hang a rucksack over it.
Yeah.
Airplanes have to
You
be
don't have to
pristine. I should read some comments. Let's see. So, I realize neither of you guys can...
The crowd said, Max reads the comments. He just ignores us.
No, normally that's Ken's job. Too much detail. Wingnut Wings comes to mind. Oh, brother, I tell you what, get PTSD building one of those things. I'll tell you what, though, if I get another Wingnut Wings airplane, and I'm going to make sure that I use the gas patch turnbuckles and easy line. That'll make a much better project out of it. I've come to realize if you really want to torture a friend, get him a Wingnut Wings airplane. Here, because I love you. They'll
have trouble with it.
They'll grin for about 5 seconds and they'll start to tremble and twitch. That Wingnut Wings early version of the Albatross D1 or D2 that's on display that Mr. Estes made, that's on display at Hurricane Hobbies, is so insultingly good it's got me scared to put a model next to it. The same thing over the ones that Brett makes, his Chinook and that A10 and the Velociraptor. I'm like, the models are flawless, and a lot of these guys they do not go to model shows. They don't compete or anything. They do them strictly for themselves, which is a beautiful thing. Because I guarantee they'd be winning some awards. And
that's the way every build should be. It should be for yourself.
Yeah.
It's something you want to build of something that you like. Period.
Oh, Paul's pointing out something. STUG crews, Sturmgeschütz crews, were artillery. So the arm of service colored piping should be Panzer pink. Funny you should mention that, Paul. Since he brings that up, I was debating on whether or not to show this particular slide or get into this subject, but I guess we're all adults here, so my wife and I...
Most of us are.
My wife and I just rewatched the movie Conspiracy. Excuse me.
Bless you.
Oh, bless you.
Yeah.
So, as God telling me, you may not want to talk about this.
Telling you change the filters in the air conditioner.
Well, for those who haven't seen it, Conspiracy is a movie about the Wannsee Conference, which is where the SS and the Nazis decided what they were going to do with all the Jews. Anyway, Kevin Branagh does a fantastic job of playing Reinhard Heydrich. And I was wondering if his uniform was correct, and apparently it was. Here's a picture of the real Heydrich. and Heydrich is like your favorite guy you love to hate. We're gonna cheer ourselves up by watching the movie. Not Aphrodite. Forget. It's the movie about the Czechs. They just made it. It's about the Czechs that ambushed him. But I got curious and did about 10 minutes worth of research and found out that, they actually got the uniform right down to the ribbon bar. And those actually weren't even all of his ribbons. And he's like one of my favorite people in history to hate. For those who don't know, Heydrich was I think he was the number 2 man at the SS. Everybody thought he was the heir apparent, that if Hitler died, that actually Heydrich would probably be the one that would be put in charge. He was the super Nazi. He was also, if you notice, bottom center, he has Luftwaffe pilot's wings. He had served in both the Navy, the Army, and the Air Force. And I mean actually served for real. He'd started off in the Kriegsmarine. He was a fully rated fighter pilot. That set of wings over his ribbons is, I believe you had to fly 50 or 100 missions to get that. And I mean, and it was combat. I think it was 50 combat missions. He also has I think that's a cavalryman's badge. He's got a couple Iron Crosses as party badge. But they are very careful to get Kevin Brownaw's uniform correct. And he was, I believe, an Obergruppenführer, basically a brigadier or major general. This guy apparently spoke about 6 languages, played the piano, wrote music. I mean, kind of a Renaissance man. At the same time, he was the butcher of Prague, who was just ruthless, merciless. You know the character Inglourious Bastards. They have the Jew hunter, old Christopher Waltz, playing the Nazi that's chasing the girl down the whole time, and he's sort of like that in real life. But if you watch the movie, it's scary because, I mean, he's a true psychopath. I mean, charming, smart, in charge, but scratch just a little bit, give him just a little resistance, and very quickly he'll make some sort of power play, right down to the point of, I don't want to see you hurt, but there are others in the organization who would. I mean, he's the perfect villain. Even looks the part. I mean, tell me this guy does not look like every Bond villain.
Hans Landa.
Hans Landa, yes. He was kind of a real-life Hans Landa. And, but...
Sungard just pointed out that one of the uniforms has a tie and the other one doesn't.
Well, they had different collars, that's true. That's because one of them's the field gray and the other one's the gray-green. There were more, this actually dovetails what I was saying about talking about, is one of the hardest things you can do is paint European, especially German uniforms. They are so complicated. The one on the right with the tunic collar is, there's a name for each one of them, and I don't know what it is, but you're right. They have them with the tie, they have them with the tunic collar. But what a lot of people don't realize is that you see the movies, you always think like Where Eagles Dare, you always think of the SS dressed in black. They actually had gotten rid of that uniform for the regular SS by the time the war broke out. They were wearing basically the same color as the Army. Beside that one on the left may be a colorized photo. I don't know if it was original color, if it was colorized. But they had, I've got a book over here on all the uniforms of World War II. And the Americans and the Japanese had about the simplest uniform, and the Russians had relatively simple uniforms. I think the Americans had some of the simplest uniforms out there. But now I'm really hearing some wind noise.
You're fading out, Max.
Now I'm really hearing some wind noise.
Not from me. I'm sitting at my computer and nothing going on around me.
But
I got all the windows up.
Okay. Well, we'll live with it. So the SD on the sleeve is, I believe it's pronounced Schinderdienst, which is basically Reich Security Intelligence, and but if you when you're painting these German figures, they even like just the tankers and stuff, they have shoulder braid, they have piping around the collars and everything, as you see on the left. Well, actually on both of them you see the piping. That is so much fun to do on 1/35th scale. It's like, all right, drag out your fine point silver pencil. Oh gosh, what's the name of that movie? It just came out. Not Aphrodite, starts with an A. Anyway, it's about the Czech assassination of Heydrich, and in fact, there just been a couple of videos made about whether or not it was worth doing because the reprisals and all that other stuff. But yeah, Reich Main Security Office, yeah. Schinderheitsdienst, that's it. And that's why I don't speak German. I mean, a little anthropoid, thank you. I knew someone out there would know it. For some reason, I keep thinking of arachnophobia. But anyway, for those who don't know, he was the Butcher of Prague, and the Brits sent in a couple of Czech commandos, and they almost bungled it, but they managed to kill him. But the reprisals, a lot of people were like, was it worth it? Because he wasn't actually that influential in how the war was fought. But I'll leave that to people to argue in other forums. Anyway, but he's one of my favorite people to hate. And I think he's just like the perfect villain. I'm sure Hans Landa had to be loosely based on him to some degree. But Kevin Branagh did a great job of... they also made one in Germany that's actually where they're all actually speaking German. What cracked me up was how many people, I mean, Conspiracy was probably made 20 years ago, but how many people you see in the movie that you recognize later from like Downton Abbey and all these other British productions. And you're like, oh, that's, that's the Earl's valet. And, oh, look, the kid answering the phone is Loki, Tom Hiddleston. And, of course, Stanley Tucci plays Eichmann. Stanley Tucci's great at whatever he plays. But a lot of people call it the single most terrifying movie ever made because unlike Godzilla or Frankenstein or Invaders from Mars, this really happened. You can walk out of the theater after Jurassic Park or, Shin Godzilla and just go, well, dinosaurs are dead and there's no such thing as Godzilla outside of a toy store. But the crap in this movie happened for real. And anyway... So, getting back to models.
Let's get back on the models.
Yeah, getting back to models.
Models? Yes.
I find German uniforms the single biggest pain in the keister to try and paint. Especially, I don't even try at 1/48 scale. But even at 1/35 scale, it's like the detail. And they actually have decal sets with the rank and everything. And even the decals are so tiny, I can't hardly manipulate them into place. And, I think I hear myself, like, yeah, no wonder we just, Krauts. American uniforms are so much simpler. Hit them with olive drab, and off you go. But,
meanwhile, let's do a tool review.
A tool review. Okay.
I have
It's tool time.
What?
I have purchased two new items from Hobby Lobby that they have brought in themselves. The first one is, what's that?
I talked about this recently, but go ahead.
Oh, well, the first one is the sprue tray, which is a $6 plastic tray with slots in it. And you take all of your sprues for the model you're working on, and they slide into tracks so that all of the sprues with the parts are in the same place as you're building the kit. And when you need to remove one to take a part off, you take it off, you remove it, you put the sprue back into the slot, and it holds them all together so you don't lose stuff all over the bench.
I've got a picture up of it. It's called the Black Model Runner Holder, $6.99.
And the second one is they have a new hobby mat at Hobby Lobby, which is $10. It's orange rubberized material. It is a mat that's a cutting surface, and it has compartments around the edges and the top of it. And the compartments are magnetic, so if you're working on something with screws or clips. It will hold them in place in the little compartments. And it also has closing compartments along the top of the mat. Really, really useful item. They're at Hobby Lobby. It's under Hobby Lobby's own name, and they're very inexpensive but very practical.
Well, I have two differing opinions. The Kraut says a Goodwill store dish dry rack makes a great sprue rack, and Chris says people buy all the cool gadgets just because it's a waste of money. And but you know, I was talking the other day. I just put push pins up on the. Go ahead,
Mr. Positive. So we would not expect anything.
I put the I put the push pins on the wall and hung all the racks up there and talked about that the other night, and it worked great. They were right in front of me, hanging up where I could see everything. Nothing wrong with these racks that you're talking about. They're great for organizing, but having the stuff actually up on the wall where I can actually, and I had it, A, B, C, D, so I had them in the correct order, which, a little organization. Not the first time I had done that. Here it is. I'm putting the picture up right now. Here's a picture of all. There's the Stug and the T-37 Tweet hanging up there. And that just made life a lot simpler. Cleared up my work area because I'm always sticking my elbow and stuff. Whether you use a sprue track or a wash tray, any mess. And I used to just put the stuff back in the box, but always pick it up. This actually worked. Rarely do my plans work nearly as well as I expect them to. This time, it actually did. And
you know what Max really needs? He needs a device that will catch flying parts midair and put them back on his table.
Actually, I have an apron. A lot of guys will clip their apron to the table, so when one goes down, you catch it.
Yep.
Which I actually have an apron somewhere. I need to go find it and do that. And speaking of that little tweet, let me see if I can find the picture here real quick. Okay, here's the paint scheme I plan to put it in. But that's not the picture I was looking for. Image, let me find real quick. That's 29, 30.
When's the last time you changed your calendar, Max?
What? Why? What?
Papa's Comic Books noticed that your calendar is in January.
Oh, I actually saw that the day I took that picture. I was like, oh wow, that's that submarine. That's been up there a while. Okay, here it is. Okay, here's the picture I was looking for. The tweet. This is the little Academy 1/72nd scale Tweety. Actually, A37 Dragonfly. And hold on, let me fit the screen. Okay. I've heard a couple people a while back were saying they didn't like the Academy kits. This is only the second one I've built, and I got to be honest, it's gone together without a hitch. Also, I've been happily surprised with it.
Tweet.
Yeah, well, this is the A37, the one that carries weapons and has the bigger engines, has the T-38 engines without the afterburners. Now, I'd meant to do this with the Vietnam build, but didn't get it done. And
There's the tires on the main.
Well, I haven't gotten that far. I'm gonna pre-paint those separately. But where's that picture I was gonna show you? The tweet, when I was putting it together, I jammed that nose with silly putty. I was going to put, it says to put a 5 gram weight in there, and a nickel weighs 5 grams, but it wouldn't fit.
You didn't want to waste the money?
No, wouldn't fit. I actually put a nickel and a penny to make sure, but they wouldn't fit, so I wound up using silly putty. But it wasn't enough, so I took the tip tanks off and wedged silly putty into the forward area on the tip tanks and just wedged it in with a little toothpick until I had the nose of both of the tip tanks stuffed full of the stuff. And when I did that, then it sat on its nose, so it won't be a tail sitter. But like I say, I'm planning to do this in the white paint scheme. I've been watching the YouTube channel of a retired airline and Air Force pilot, a guy named Ron Rogers. Some of you may have seen his stuff, but he's just a guy sitting in his chair telling stories about flying in the military and flying in the airlines. And when he was out,
That's not me. That's not me.
Not me. When he was out doing the test pilot thing, that was one of the airplanes they gave him to fly. He didn't get the hot stuff. They stuck him in a Skymaster, and then they stuck him in a Tweet, or A37. And he went up and did spin training in that thing. That's why they used that airplane. So I'm going to paint it up in those kind of colors. He's actually got a picture of the one he used to fly. So I'm going to paint it in those colors just to do something different. I mean, I love the camo scheme, but I figure this will be something a little more unusual.
Robert Austin said, worked on A37s when I was in the Maryland ANG. Only plane I ever worked on where you needed a mechanic's creeper.
A mechanic's what? Oh, creeper. Yeah. Yeah, the thing sits close to the ground. Well, when Cessna was designed the trainer that it's based on, the T-37 Tweet, they gave the Air Force exactly what they wanted. A easy to fly, straight wing with a wide track gear. Don't need any special gear. You just step into it like you're hopping onto a motorcycle, you know. And there are a couple of them in civilian hands, and although one of them did have a midair, that was years ago. But the Tweet, or what do they call it, the dog whistle?
I've heard those things.
Yeah,
there.
Like the 200 mile an hour dog whistle. Yeah.
Piercing.
Yeah. Oh, you always wear earplugs underneath your helmet and your headsets and everything with those things. But but the airplane, you know, apparently, if I'm not mistaken, I think when you get in a spin, all you do is let go of the controls. Although I have seen spin recovery training films from the Air Force in them, but it was just exactly what they asked for. It was a great first jet, and when they had the ACE program, the Accelerated Co-Pilot Enhancement, you know, co-pilots who needed to get some stick time could just check one out for the weekend and go home and see their parents or whatever, at least for a while. Oh, that's a cool program. But the Academy kit, I hear people, you know, I don't like Academy. Well, I can only speak from my own experience. I haven't had any trouble with it. Now, what I'm planning to do with this kit is I'm going to, once I get it finished up, I'm going to airbrush it in the white scheme and get it all painted up. But I'm going to put all the underwing stores in place because in the photo he sent, the one he flew, everything was white except the tail. So I'm going to go ahead, like I did with the Stug, I'm going to go ahead and glue everything and get a good glue bond and then go in with the airbrush. Because, you know, with an airbrush you can get the nooks and crannies you can't do with a rattle can. And you can always go in and touch it up with a brush first and then use the airbrush to smooth out the look. But I'm just getting really tired of fighting with glue and paint at the same time. So I'm going to put it all together, mask it off, and then paint it. Once all the ordnance is on.
Bill Paul said the T-37 was also known as the converter. It converts fuel into noise.
It sure does. And it's right efficient at it, too. In fact, if you go watch Ron Rogers' video on it, he talks about both the engines. Because you got to remember, this is an A37, which has the T-38 engines just without the afterburner. And apparently it's a very different airplane. That's a lot of extra power. And he was talking about some of the things you could do in the A37. It sounds like it was a hoot to fly. My only problem is those guys are out in the desert with a plexiglass bubble over their head. And I'm kind of like, yeah, when does that get fun? But in 1/72nd scale, with my eyes and my big fingers, that's a hard scale to work with. But so far, this airplane hasn't given me any static. I know a lot of people, like I say, a lot of people I know were knocking Academy kits. The only other one I built was at 1/72nd scale Stuka. The detail was insane. The decals were good, and the kit went together without any argument. So I have not personally had that experience. And I'm becoming rather fond of Academy kits, but these are probably newer moldings. I'm guessing the people who had trouble with them probably had some of their older stuff. And now that Canberra I did from A model, that was problematic, even a 1/144 scale. That was A model out of Poland. And I put A model on the list. I want to get back to doing some of the history videos. Right now, my biggest problem is just, you know, time and stuff and things happen. You know, the world goes on, and this is a hobby. We do it when we can. But
I got to fly the simulator of these one time.
What, the Tweets?
Mm-hmm.
Oh,
I was when I was in Austin, Texas. Randolph was having an open house, so I rented a Warrior, and we flew down. A couple of guys that I was working with, we flew down there, and we had reserved time ahead for the T-37 and the T-38 trainer. And on the 37, they set us up to do an ILS approach because the computer could only there was 4 simulators, but the computer could only handle visuals for 2 of them.
I remember when the visuals and simulators were the camera moving down a model of the Earth, of the land, with trees and fences and roads, and the camera, just a little pin camera, just went down as you flew the airplane. It just went over this big landscape model. I thought that was awesome. God, I'd love to have one of those at the house. Another model that's...
Better clean that up.
So, the C-57D model. I have this laid out, and there's the big Dremel tool my wife got me along with the drill base. I bought that, Kim, because I saw how easy it was for you to make to do some of the work you did, because you have that drill bit and everything in the lower the lever that lowers it and everything. And I figured this is a great one, because that's all I need. That's actually more than I need for plastic models. But I haven't quite figured out where I want to mount that thing, but I'm going to get that all set up, because stands and stuff, you can bore holes, you make nice even holes and things and everything, and you see just past it.
Oh yeah, that thing I got. Yeah, that's great. That works really well.
I need to get this thing all set up. I keep moving it around because I need to give it a dedicated table, anchor it down. But the first hole I cut was a hole for the stand for the F-100, and that would be before I had the belly on there, and I just came down and it just made this perfect, hole. But I need to get some different drill bits and endings for it. And my understanding, if you can, and that's a variable speed Dremel, you get it on a low speed, you can actually use it with a buffer. You can actually get it to polish things too, which can make for some nice shiny finishes.
Yeah, you can get it to cut metal pretty well too if you got the low speed.
Well, I was
just gonna say, somehow I messed mine up. I was drilling a couple holes on the boat last weekend, and apparently I burned something up because it's a variable speed, but no matter what speed I put it on, it goes full speed. I don't know what I did. So
busted the clutch or something. But well, the thing is, the C-57D, which is enormous, I've been watching the build. I've got the paint. I downloaded from the internet the proper painting guide and everything, but I've watched several build videos on it, including that gentleman whose name escapes me, but I think I told you guys about his video, and he's like a car auto body guy, so he does fantastic work. He has huge collection of lit up, electrified, large sci-fi models, but he unfortunately he's got some health issues, so he had to sell a few of them, and they are not cheap, but they are master level builds. Well, he did this, and of course I'm not going to light the inside. I'm going to do the inside by painting and trying to use shading instead of, because I've electrified a few models, and with the exception of 1 or 2 that I have lighting kits for, I like, it's just more than I can handle. But I figure by using the proper shading, I can give the basic effect. But the outside's got to be polished, and he actually used car stuff on it, so he's got like this waxy car finish. Looks freaking awesome. I haven't 100% decided what I'm going to do with this, but if I was going to light something in it, it would just be that rotating engine on the bottom. And what I was thinking was I could vacuum form a cup over the clear piece that goes on the bottom, because they give you a clear piece for the bottom. Paint the vacuum outside of the vacuum form part, the silver gray. Put that permanently on the stand, so if you pick the thing up, you see the lit up engine, but if you set it down, it looks like it does in the movie, because the thing turns gray like the rest of the ship when it's turned off. So it basically sits in a gigantic golf tee. I have a month to come up with a rational hobby travel kit for vacation. Not much of a fisherman. Well, a tackle box will help. Tackle box is actually a good way to arrange a lot of your stuff. And, but the C57D is a nice, big, expensive kit. So I wanted that's going to be one of the kits I go slow on, like the Felix though, and take forever to build and try to do right. And I figure I'm probably going to have to hang on the wall. I have no idea where I'm going to put this thing when I'm done. It's too big to come in the house. But I suppose I could put it up in the garage somewhere. But I'll figure that out. But one of the things he did point out was that when you build it, you're gonna have a gap between those triangular sections. There's no getting around that. If you try to make them all made up perfectly, the top and the bottom don't quite line up right, and you wind up giving the thing sort of a puckered look. So what he said is, and I saw what he did, and it's not that hard. He goes, when you get to the last piece, just leave the gap there and just use styrene to, just put a piece, wedge styrene in there and shave it down to fit. Unfortunately, it looks like I had planned to make the internal part a separate display, but I'm not sure you can do that. I think you may need the innards in there to provide structure for the thing to hold its shape. I'll have to see that as I build it. But anyway, so I figure the time to get this done and the project I want to do with the flying saucer movie I'd like to make, it's going to be at least a year. But hey, that's what long-term projects are for. Meanwhile, I'll be building other stuff. I do need to get started on this. I've kind of got the tweet's probably going to be I don't know. I might finish those airliners first. Kind of like. Nah, I was going to say I kind of like to clear my desk and get everything done before I get on the C57D, but I don't think I'm going to do it that way because I know with big projects like I did with the Felix though, when you're working on them, sometimes you got to have a side project just to get away from it for a while, kind of keep your sanity, so to speak. And but I want to try to figure out painting in natural sunlight. See if my results improve. In May. I know one thing, guys. If you send pictures, if you can go outside and take photos, nothing beats natural light for a photograph on a nice day. If you want a green screen, if you're into chroma key, and you can go outside and get the thing a few feet away, I've also learned that natural light's given me some of the best chroma key I've done. I know the technology's gotten better depending on your software. Also remember, when you send me pictures for viewers' builds, if you put them against a neutral background, that does not include a color from the model. So if you have a silver flying saucer and you put it in front of a green screen, I can chroma key it and play around with it and have a little fun with it. You can do the same thing with a blue screen or red screen, as long as that color's not in the model. And at least not along the edges of it anyway, because I always trim that out. But anyway, so I do hope to be using that Dremel and getting the C57D started, but it's a nice kit. It's going to take a while, and I got to get a few paints for it, but overall I don't see anything on it. The big thing I see that's going to be challenging for the C57D is, you guys probably remember, it's got a different colored silver for the lip that goes around it, and the thing's basically an aluminum color, but it's a darker shade around the lip.
It's almost gray.
Yeah. And I think what I'm going to do is, once I get the thing built, sanded, buffed, primed, ready for paint, I'll just shoot it all in one color a couple of times, probably clear coat it. When that is done and it's all hardened and ready, what I'm thinking about doing, I'll put tape around the edges, or I put tape in a circle around it. But I was thinking of a way to use like a compass or something to cut it even, but I figured what would be easier is make something sort of a C-clamp kind of thing with an edge and just go around the model, almost like a can opener, right? To get the etching for the and then peel the tape off the area you want exposed, plastic over the rest of it to keep it protected, and then I can paint the edges, or it could be easier to paint the whole thing and cover the edges and paint the center a lighter shade. I'll figure that out later. But that I got to make like a clamp with something on each end that can go around it and make a perfect line around it as I like a record, spin it like a record, like say like a can opener, so that I can get that mark, and then you've got your cut. You can peel your tape, because it's going to show if you get it out of plate. That's the first thing that's going to show, and it's going to show bad. It's amazing how quick the eye picks up a blemish on something like a perfect circle or something like that. I mean, technically it's a very simple thing to do, but in reality, when you get to it, it can be tough, tougher than you might think. And but there's no decals of the kit, obviously. I'm not sure. Some guys will take that clear dome that goes on top. They'll paint half of it silver or aluminum and leave the other half clear so you can rotate it. Or you can just paint the whole thing. Some people say it's a little undersized. I was thinking, well, it'd be great then if you could use it to vacuum form a slightly larger one. Then you could paint the larger one and put the clear one under it. Then you'd have both. You'd have your, aluminum shell and pick that up and look through the clear part to see the inside. And there are some guys that made some amazing dioramas with these things. I mean, this model's big enough. If it could be camera ready for a photo, for a movie or something. I went to Pierce Films. A Sense of Scale has been where they interview the Hollywood model makers. Been putting out a few more videos recently, and apparently Hollywood has not gotten away from practical models. CGI is used a lot, but they're still building lots of practical models and stuff we could appreciate. He did about a 9-minute video on making the Russian SAM site that they blew up for the new Quantum Leap television show. I think it was season 2. And it's just the kind of thing we'd all love to be in. I mean, the SAM missiles they were making were 4 feet long. But you see the materials that they use, and you're just like, these guys are like us. You can hand them a bunch of plastic tubes and balsa wood, come back in a week, and they built these incredible structures. Thing was that they had to pre-cut them because they had to blow them up. And they wanted them to go in little bitty pieces. Nothing looks hokier than when the miniature, they blow up the building and all the 4 walls just fall down like a house of cards. You're like, yeah, I can. But there are a lot of great model building in there. And there's a website that I stumbled onto that I meant to save and didn't. But they were talking about a lot of movies that used models that I had. Some of them I'd seen, some of them I hadn't, but some of it I thought it was archival footage. It turned out to be that there's models. There's a 1942 movie, I think it was called Those Who Serve. It's about a crew of a British destroyer. They get sunk, and they're attacked by Junkers 88s. And see if I can find the photo. And the only reason I knew about it was I stumbled onto this picture of a guy holding this gigantic model Ju-88. So, well, that looks cool. Handmade for the movie, and I thought it was real when I saw the model, and I was like, I thought that was some kind of archival footage they edited in there, and okay, Ju-88 model in 1942 movie. I think it's called We Who Serve. Okay. Let me check my history. It's got to be. I was trying to find something on the miniatures they used in the 1970 movie Airport and wound up coming across this thing instead. But, okay. In Which We Serve, that's the name of the movie. let's see. Which we serve. Anyway, if you go watch the movie, they get into the they get into the air attack fairly early in the movie, and I was like, wow, this is I don't know where they got this fantastic footage. Oh, that they did that with. Ultra miniature. I knew I should have saved that website. Is it Film Fanatic?
Max, what are you doing?
Anyway, I'll have to find it and do a video on it later. I meant to do one anyway, and they just movie model work at its best. But then they went in all these other movies that they use model work on that I didn't even realize were models, and some of it was just cars going down roads. But for some reason, they felt it was better off to use miniatures. And so, enough of that.
Well, you know, you want to talk about miniatures in film and stuff. I mean, the perfect example of that is all the Jerry Anderson stuff.
Yeah,
I mean,
in fact,
they were puppets.
This website actually.
All the rest of
Yeah. Well, this website had actually gone. It included a section on the Jerry Anderson. I didn't realize how big those models were.
Yeah, they are. You know. Now, some of them were regular size kits.
Yes.
Like a lot of times when they would have a car, it would be like a regular, 1/25th scale kit. But a lot of the other stuff was huge, and it had to be suspended from the ceiling with wires because they were so heavy.
Yeah, there was he used to love to kit bash B-58 Hustlers and Matt Shot, Magicians of the Miniature. I think that's it. It's New Zealand Pete's, NZ Pete's Matt Shot blogspot, and here, okay, I'm looking at a picture where it looks like the Lydecker brothers. They're making a bridge with a model car, and of course all the old sailing ships and everything. But and of course the sailing ships and everything are going to be models. He's got pictures of model work from 30 Seconds Over Tokyo, Flying Tigers, Ahab from Moby Dick. There he is, Jerry Anderson, and there of course Derek Meddings on the UFO set, and you don't even realize that it's a set until you see the guy walk in the background. Like, oh crap! I thought that was a city street. And of course, War of the Worlds, and I don't know. I love it. And the difference between a model that takes you out of the movie and one that doesn't. Let me give you a quick example here. File, new, edit, paste. Okay, this is from Ships with Wings, I believe is the name of it. And let me get one from 30 Seconds Over Tokyo to put next to it, just for comparison's sake.
I can see your screen reflected in your display case behind you.
There we go. Copy image. Paste. Okay. And now don't get me wrong, these are both good, but there's definitely a bit of a qualitative difference between them. Because you have to remember in a movie, the idea is not to take you out of the movie. Okay. One. Image. Okay. Here we go. Okay. And fit the screen. So here we have two movies of this roughly the same era. And one on the left is British, one on the right's from Hollywood. And I remember that scene where the B-25 flies over the carrier at the beginning when Doolittle is just taken off in 30 seconds over Tokyo. And it really, it's Leidecker work, and it really, looks good. Although I don't want to bash ships with wings, somehow I think it was the way the models moved. It just didn't. I mean, you just knew it was a model, and a beautiful model, but still, you just knew it was a model. Probably hand carved.
Well, the other shot from that movie is the one when they're actually flying over the buildings in Tokyo and dropping the bombs from up above the bomb.
Yes, they actually, I think, have a picture of them doing that in here somewhere. And that was Leidecker. They had the camera looking down, the charges went off and went. And I love how the explosions go right up to the, come at you at the camera. And
well, I mean, the Leidecker brothers, they got a lot of their experience from doing the serials. Where it would always be a cliffhanger at the end, the car going off the cliff, the bridge blowing up, a plane crashing into something. I mean, that was all model work and wires, and they were the ones who did, Captain Marvel and Commando Cody. They were the genius of the wire, making stuff look like it normally flied.
It's amazing what you can do with models. In fact, here is, and speaking of exactly that, give me just a second here. Edit, paste. There we go. Okay. Let me just get this slide made real quick. And be prepared to be amazed. All right. And then just as model builders, we can appreciate the amount of work that goes into something like what I'm about to show you. Here we have a guy building. This is the studio shop for, I think, Warner Brothers. And you can see, this is for an Errol Flynn movie. I'm not sure which one. But you can see how much work goes into building the model float plane. And all the other props and stuff that are made there. I mean, they really are magical places. Imagine, there's the artist, and sitting there just screwing away and smoking his cigarette, like, yeah, another damn Errol Flynn movie. God, what a jerk. Yeah, to him it's another day of work. But I mean, it's got all the rigging on the model and everything. It's large scale, so it's probably going to look good on screen. I have to go find out what Errol Flynn movie that is. And here is how to operate the boom for a Leidecker, with the airplanes, and it's impressive. And they had to invent all this. Of course, you got to make the airplanes bank and stuff so it looks real, so they got the pulleys to make them bank and all this other stuff. Invisible wires control plane like marionette for diving and banking and climbing. They must also supply electric current for the spinning propellers. Special effects such as dropping parachutes. Primary and secondary mounting revolve as desired. 2 separate operators in the boom. It's 2 operators maneuver model with levers and steering wheel controls. Counterbalances. I mean, this is really an impressive thing.
Probably more expensive than flying the real thing.
Well, believe it or not, despite everything, no, it's a lot cheaper. Especially when you start blowing crap up.
Yeah, then it gets expensive.
Here, I think this may be...
And they blew everything up.
Yeah. In fact, That last one with the Quantum Leap missile base they blew up. Ah, here it is. Copy image. They asked, how do you feel about, seeing something you put all this work into getting blown up? And he goes, is it emotional? He goes, you kidding? That's the best part. I mean, he was like, that's the best part. We love blowing stuff up. It's what we do. We're basically all a bunch of pyros at heart. This is the JU-88 I was talking about. Hold on, from the movie in which we serve. And mind you, this was made during the war, so it's all handmade. There were no kits. All right, let's put that up here. I'd love to build something like this, but I say that, but I can't. I have trouble mastering Aguilo's kit. As my brother said, he started working with this mysterious stuff called wood. But here's the upper left is the JU-88 model, and now one thing I just noticed in the movie, because remember it's swinging by on wires, the bombs drop out of a bomb bay. Here they have the bombs on the wing. But the footage where it flies over the ship and you see all the ship's rigging, it looks like documentary footage. And no, that's a model going over the model ship's rigging. It's just the focus is right, the lighting is right, everything's done. And I'm like, wow, that is some really, really, really good footage. It fooled me. And they did this in 42. Helps that it was in black and white. And there you see the ship get her fatal blow. And I don't know if I think she was a cruiser. But, and you like cruiser. But anyway, just this, let me copy this. Copy.
Looks a lot like the Blue Devil cruiser.
Well, the Blue Devil's a destroyer, but yeah, I know what you mean.
Destroyer. Okay.
Meanwhile, there's a thrift shop down by me. They have a Blue Devil for sale.
Oh, yeah?
Really? How much?
$100.
How much?
$100.
$100.
That's not bad.
But this just has dozens of
pieces.
This has photos from miniature work done in dozens of movies, and in some cases they show you action in the North Atlantic, the last days of Pompeii. And they show you people standing by the models and how it was all done. King Kong, and how the miniature set, and they mix it in with real people. There's Howard and Theodore Lydecker. Man, I love it. Howard and Theodore Lydecker with a wonderful movie train set that any 12-year-old boy would want to play with for hours on end. These guys never worked a day in their lives. They were just a couple overgrown kids who managed to make a living doing something half of us would pay to do. Half of us do pay to do.
I have a book about them, and the guy who wrote the book grew up down the street from them as a kid.
Uh-huh.
And he tells the story about how one day he's coming home from school, and he goes by this oversized garage, and there's a big explosion in the garage. And he runs over, and he opens the door and looks in the garage, and there they are with a model of a boat trying to figure out how to blow it up so that it looks good on screen.
There you go, my kind of neighbors I'd like. My brother and I used to love this movie with Clint Walker called None But the Brave, where a C-47, Marine C-47 gets shot down, and they have to, they stuck on an island with the Japanese. They have to learn to cooperate to survive. And who does the special effects work of the C-47 getting shot down and crashing? None other than Eiji Tsuburaya. Same guy who did Godzilla.
There you go.
And, which explained the look of the movie.
Well, do you know how he got his start?
What, making propaganda films during the war?
Yeah, he made propaganda films for the Japanese during the war. That's what he did.
Hey, some of those
And
propaganda
these
films are
movies,
so
you know,
good that we thought they were actual footage when we captured it.
Yeah, well, it showed them blowing up Pearl Harbor, and it showed them winning in certain battles. It was kind of like a Man in the High Castle thing.
Uh-huh.
But he made all those movies, and that's where he sort of learned his bones on, how to make these really detailed miniatures.
Yeah, man did great work.
Because when you look at some of those Godzilla movies, it's all not real, but you go, it really looks like it's a real city.
Yeah, as long as it
looks
doesn't
like
take you
Kyoto.
out of the
It really
movie.
looks
Yeah.
like Tokyo.
Now, supposedly when they aired the movie in Tokyo, they premiered it, and when he started tearing up the theater that everybody was in, some people panicked and ran outside. There they are, they're just, and of course it makes sense. There's, what's that? There's the Flying Tigers, and that movie with Passage to Marseille, War of the Worlds, and a lot of great photos in here. It's nzpeatsmatshot.blogspot. I'm going to link it below. You see all the models when they're handling. Oh, God, man, just keep those in my garage. Stand by for action. And, A Night to Remember. And I actually we didn't get around to it last live stream. I had some pictures of A Night to Remember. That gigantic 40-foot Titanic, they made it a full interior because the starboard side, the walls came off so they could film it flooding. And,
Yep.
The Land Unknown.
When I was a kid.
The Land Unknown. Who remembers that one?
Yeah, I remember that. Jock Mahoney.
I love that movie. And I love when the rotor blade nicks the dinosaur. I'm like, you do realize that would probably cause a blade separation. The messenger list, or the list of so-and-so messenger, and
Critical said the term Max is looking for is suspension of disbelief.
there we go. There's the Dam Busters. That's right. Suspension of disbelief. There is In Harm's Way, which they could have done.
The worst. I'm sorry, the worst.
If they had,
they looked like stuff. They looked like model ships that kids built at a Cub Scout.
if they could have made a way to get them to churn up the water, and create a real wake. And when they were hit and blown up, if they hadn't come apart in such large chunks like a model does. Because they were really big. These things are 40 feet long, these are huge models. But they needed more detail.
But they looked horrible. They really did.
Yeah, they definitely, they're sliding through the water,
detail.
not creating any wake. The Battle of the Bulge, where they have the Panzer, crush over the American tank and the little Chaffee. And I'm kind of like, the models aren't bad, but they just don't move like real tanks, But the scene where the tanks are burning, that actually looked pretty good. I'm just clicking through these real quick. You guys can all go check. But all these models I didn't realize for 30 Seconds Over Tokyo, they had to build the whole squadron in models. Ken, these are the pictures you were talking about in 30 Seconds Over Tokyo. I knew that was in there somewhere. Hold on. Yeah, edit.
Me?
Paste. Or maybe it was Steve was talking about it.
You. The ones where they're flying over the city and bombing it from above.
Hang on just a second here. That was all Lidecker work. I don't think they did the explosives, but okay, bench, hit that image. Okay, browse. Okay, there we go. Okay, and there it is. There's Tokyo getting bombed by Doolittle in miniature, and very convincing footage too. You got the blast coming up at you and everything, and.
Didn't they build a huge model of downtown Tokyo?
Yes, they did.
The bomber crews used for briefings.
Yeah, and they also built one over the. They did. They built one of all of Tokyo Bay and Harbor and all that stuff, and it was very top secret. They had every model maker in Hollywood working on it, and when the people came in, they were told it's top secret. You can't talk about it. And they pull this thing back, and the lights come on, and ooh, and the bombardiers could look at it, and they said that the level of detail was insane, right down to people's outhouses, because you never know what landmark you're going to wind up using as the IP. And that became kind of standard. But Japanese did the same thing for Pearl Harbor. It's even in the movie Tora Tora Tora. So, but yes, they absolutely did that kind of stuff. But anyway, I thought you guys.
It's a shame that model didn't survive. That would be really interesting to see.
Yeah. Yes, it would. Copy. All right, let me go see if I can do this without causing a problem. YouTube. I'm going to go to my channel.
Yeah, you kind of should have
manage videos. Live. Edit. Now I'm going to put the link to that website. Paste. Save. Okay, now down in the description of the live stream should have a link to New Zealand Pete's or NZ Pete's Matte Shot blog. If you guys love Hollywood models, you're really going to enjoy. He's got a lot of great photos in there from a lot of movies. A lot of stuff I did not even realize was model work. And, like I say, I asked myself, why on earth would you go through the trouble making these miniature cars? And I still don't know how they build miniature. I mean, I've seen some pictures of it being done. It's kind of like building a model airplane or a model ship, but cars tend to have different curves on them and everything. But they do it, and they make these cars from scratch so they can blow them up or burn. But it's easier to have the props department make these cars and build a set and roll for a 10-second, 5-second scene where the car is driving through the desert. And like, God, that's a lot of work for such a short scene. But it's a whole lot cheaper and easier than, packing a dozen guys, a vehicle, a tow truck, all the camera gear, and driving out into the desert to film the same scene. I'm like, yeah, I get it. Same reason they used Andy's car to do the external shots on a miniature for the lead character's apartment in the Green Hornet, because it was just a lot cheaper than going finding a place and blah, 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 blah. And okay, models save the day. Where's my Mr. Moto's House of Ill Repute? So now there is one other thing I had things to do today, so I didn't have a chance to get downloaded. I wanted to talk about kit models of the F7U Cutlass, the Gutless, and the Martin 240, or excuse me, Convair 240. Now, why on earth, Max, do you want to talk about such oddly different aircraft? Yeah, F7U, enter. And sorry, guys,
there's a method to his madness.
There is. I mean, there is.
Sort of.
Now, I'm just sitting here down. There are dozens of models of the F7U. I mean, and they've been made forever with some really cool box art. And hold on, let me just download one real quick. I'm having trouble choosing because they're all so cool. Oh, I like this. There, that's the one I want. Okay, copy image.
You knew you were going to do this beforehand, right?
Well, Ken, I had, things happen, okay? I do have a life outside of this place.
What? What? Sacrilege. No.
Heresy, I say. Okay, Convair 240. Convair 240. Okay, well, there's actually a few. Well, those are mostly just decal sets, but anyway. Copy image. Oh, Faller. There's one you don't see every day. Okay, edit, paste. Now, let's put that down there. Let's resize that a little bit. Nah, screw it. You know what? Yeah, okay.
It's amazing that there are still 124 brave souls still watching.
God bless them, one and all.
They probably fell asleep.
Maybe they did.
Say it ain't so, Joe. Say it ain't so. Okay. Oops. 44. Save. Okay, here we go. Big. All right. Image. hey, normally I do, a lot of prep work for this. Today, things were happening. And it involved cats. Do I need to say anything else? Okay, so the Cutlass and the Convair 240. Now, I was thinking about how beauty sells. I was watching the rather detailed video on the loss of the band Leonard Skinner in a Convair 240. Don't worry, I'm not going to get into that. You can, but anyway. And I realized I had been watching a video on the Gutless. And I was going to save some video that was on there, but it was actually too horrific. A lot of us have seen the footage of the Cutlass that hits the deck, bursts into flames, goes off the side of the ship, killed the pilot and everything else. And I'm like, oh, that's terrible, but I was familiar with that one. And he talks about that, and I didn't realize they only went out on a couple of cruises. But one captain abandoned all of his Cutlasses in Japan, and another one abandoned them all in Spain or Morocco. Get them off my ship. But
give them to the enemy.
Well, Ken, I saw footage on this video that showed a Cutlass, and they had a real problem with that long nose gear with the nose gear collapsing. And it hits, the nose gear collapses, it goes into the barricade, and just when you think it's all over, the canopy blows off and the ejection seat fires and kills the pilot. And there is crystal clear footage of the canopy going, the ejection seat going up, the guy tumbling over and going down on a parked aircraft on the bow. And you see his arms and legs, you're like, what? And this is before the day of 00 seats, right? And I was like, and they had it from two angles. And I was like, and a little thing in the corner, fatal accidental ejection. Now, apparently the impact fired the seat. But whatever. And I was just like, and they tell me, 17 pilots are killed in this many hours. Like, holy crap. I mean, I knew early jets are dangerous on carriers to begin with, but the thing was in the Navy for 3 years, and only on the boats for a couple of tours. But everybody and their brother makes models of it because it looks so cool. You could park that thing on the set of Star Wars. You could have those things attacking the Death Star, and people just keep eating their popcorn. Oh yeah, cool looking ship, because it is. And the early ones were even sleeker before they moved the canopy way up, the cockpit way up forward, so the pilot could see, because the thing comes in like that. Then you've got the Convair 240, 440, the Metropolitan series. The Convair prop jobs. Stalwart airplane, been around for a bunch of them are still in commercial service to this day. And there's, half dozen kits of them. Model builders don't want to build them because they're just dull. We don't like to think of it this way, but sometimes model building is just a beauty contest.
That depends on what you think is dull.
Well, that's true.
Some people might like airliners.
It's 1:46 a.m. in the UK. Well, thank you for staying up this late. We appreciate it. We're going to be wrapping up here in just a few minutes.
Adam says, I am not asleep.
You see, Ken, they're listening. That was a gut check. So anywho,
Diane Smith says, hi, Monica.
Yeah, I saw that. She's talking to someone. Ken, you're supposed to be following the comments. That's your job. You had one job.
And I'm doing it. You keep talking so much, I can't even say anything.
We've known each other for 40 years. By now, you should know how to cut in on me. Okay, that did not quite sound right.
Well, it's a clue when I'm laughing that I might have something I need to say.
Okay. You have the token.
I don't need it right now.
He might be laughing at. He thinks you might be laughing at him. That's why he doesn't get it.
Yeah, Ken. He's keeping an eye on you, boy.
If you haven't said anything funny and I'm laughing, or Steve's laughing, then maybe you might want to pause and say,
I didn't say anything.
What is it, Ken? Or what is it, Steve?
Oh.
What are you guys laughing about?
I got my cables in a knot.
Yeah, or something like that. Or maybe look at the comments and go, oh, hey, look, somebody said something funny.
Okay, let me plug this in. Okay.
I like what Ray Wyatt says. If it ain't got weapons, I don't build it.
Okay. Well, it's good to have a standard. Hold on, let me get the.
Oh, what are you doing?
I'm trying to plug the charger in. There it goes, on the communicator. This communicator is wicked cool.
Isn't that something you should have done beforehand?
Enterprise. Spock here.
Loves watching you do this stuff. It's amazing there, guys.
I could show you that it really chirps when I open it, but if I flip this thing closed, it will terminate the phone call. But I actually, for a while, carried this thing around with my phone in my pocket. When the phone would ring, I'd flip it up, chirp, chirp, like, oh, yeah. And this has got the best speaker on it. My wife got this for me. It's fully operational communicator. Now she can just get that phaser to work. It's just a chunk of clay. But,
that would be fun.
a working phaser, too? Where do I sign up? That and a tricorder. Well, actually, cell phones are very close to being tricorders, so anyway. Well, guys, that's really, I just, beauty cells. That's the other thing I did on the, when I was a kid, if you said build a 50-year-old model airplane, I was building a World War II fighter plane. Now you build a 50-year-old model airplane, you're building an F-16. I mean, jeez.
Or a B-52.
Oh, the B-52 is going to hit the century mark. There's only like 63 of those things left, but I mean, how many do you need? The thing's a bomb truck. It can fly halfway around the globe unrefueled, and it can refuel as many times as it wants. And it can carry enough hurt to pretty much, and I'm not even talking about atom bombs. I'm talking about, cruise missiles and JDAMs and everything else. You watch that old Vietnam footage, those things raining bombs. You're like, is this special effects? Is this some kind of gag? How many bombs can that bloody thing hold? And the Grandpa Buff.
Max is a tech giant, and Ken is the wizard behind the curtain doing the magic.
There you go. I'm the on-screen talent. Steve's the co-host, and Ken's the engineer. Well, we're going to wrap up here on time tonight because I have a lot going on this weekend. I'm going to have to run, and
I'd like to see that.
It's a figure of speech, Ken. If I run, you'll know because the Richter scale will start jabbering. I was told to quit running because we were having a tsunami out here on, the St. John's. So
I bet you people would pay money to watch you run.
How much? How much running and how much money? But anyway, well, guys, I appreciate you coming out. So, we got anything quick before we wrap it up for this evening? Start an Airfix CAC Boomerang. I think you might have one of those on the shelf up here. It's funny. The Aussies didn't make the greatest fighters during war. They made a few of their own, and they did what they could with them. But towards the end of the war, they wound up making their version of the Mustang, which was hotter than anything we ever made, which is kind of interesting. It's like, once they learn good. But
the crowd made an interesting comment. He said Max had no cough syrup in tonight's broadcast.
No, I'm not drinking the cough syrup for a while. Got a lot going on. I got to drive, and we're done here. So,
Trace Miles says, "Only if he's running away."
Just because I can move lightning quick to the refrigerator, that doesn't actually require running. I've just learned to stealth very quickly. You want to see me jump? Let me walk outside and see another snake unexpectedly. Had one right outside the garage.
Diane Smith says he's laughing. LMAO.
By the way, you guys know Florida has got, it's known for its wildlife, including its predatory wildlife. We've got black bears and all kinds of venomous snakes and alligators and even saltwater crocs. And we also have anacondas, boa constrictors.
all reasons not to live there.
You kidding? I would move in for this stuff. Free Burmese pythons.
Come on, man. That's a lot more interesting than where you live.
There's a
You're right.
a video. There is a video
we don't have
clip.
anything that's natural that could kill us. You're right.
It only kills you if you turn your back and run. Hey, why do you think Florida allows everyone to carry a gun? Okay, it's not for each other. It's for the wildlife. It's like Alaska. Ken and I were in Alaska. We're driving down. We see a couple of guys like flying these big kites, and each of them's got a rifle strapped to his back. And welcome to Alaska.
Yeah. In case a bear comes up.
That's right. Because remember, as our friend John Kitt over at Scale Model Garage pointed out, Scale Car Garage, is that to them, you're nothing but a self-propelled protein. But the we also have a big invasion of boa constrictors, Burmese pythons, and green anacondas. People brought them in, let them go, and that, sadly they have flourished. They've wiped out a lot of the rodent population in South and Central Florida, which is not a good thing because the foxes and the rabbits are all part of the cycle.
Hence my point.
Yeah, they may turn on us. But hi Trey.
So what? So you're telling us that you're going to get into the boot making business now?
I didn't realize this the other day. Florida has 50 full-time snake hunters.
Yeah, they got a bunch of ground hunters too.
Well, they specifically hunt.
I would love to see the job application for that job.
Yeah, when can you start? Can you drag a 13-foot Burmese python out of the weeds? You're hired. And they got a girl that they have a girl that does it.
How's your wrestling skills?
How's your wrestling skills? Yeah, they got a woman who's like the head, like the poster child for this.
They pay a bounty on them.
They pay a bounty on them. That's right. And they have a woman that
they do that. They do that in Baltimore, Ken.
There's nothing over the sewers there.
Well, yeah. They have a woman who is the poster child for this, and she's caught a whole bunch. And there's video of her online out going and getting them. And they run into the dark, into the woods after them. I'm like, okay, that's where I saw that movie. But the reason I went there was to go here. There's a new addition to the crowd of unwanted animals in Florida. Woman snapped a picture. First, I thought it was an alligator. It was a 7-foot water monitor lizard. And
that's a big one.
7-footer, and they get bigger, but at least I want a Komodo dragon, but give them time. But I was just kind of like that night for see there. So Trey, Fran, keep your boomer shooters happy. They're down in your neck of the woods. I'm sure they're up here. I think I told Steve this years ago. I saw a snake cross the road that touched the center line and the edge of the street at the same time. I paced it off to, I think it was 17 feet or 15 feet, however wide a city. And I mean, I was like, this is not, I know, I took a note of that. Holy crap. So I'm sure some of them are up as north as I am. So anyway, just remember that when you take the garbage out at night.
No, your wife should remember it when she takes the garbage out at night.
That's what I do. I have her take it out.
And remember, these aren't vampires. They don't need to ask your permission to come in the house. I mean, it gets a lot of pictures of alligators up on people's front doors. That personally, I think gives this place a look. Yeah. But there's footage of a guy out beach fishing, surf fishing, and he's reeling in a fish, and he reels in the fish, a small shark grabs it, and he's reeling it in with it in the shark's mouth, and a small alligator grabs the shark. And I'm like, welcome to Floridia.
But aren't those alligators that stand up on the front doors, aren't they Jehovah's Witnesses?
Have you met our Lord and Savior Godzilla? But I tell you what, in Florida, you see an alligator in the yard, it's Tuesday. So, but the one that takes the cake, my sister-in-law, who no longer lives in Florida,
because of this?
No. I have a bunch of sisters-in-laws. I just want to not the ones that are here. But she was a game officer for a long time. Worked for wildlife, and I think she was down in Miami, and she got a call, and somebody said, my neighbor's got a tiger in his backyard. And they're like, yeah, right. Sure. Okay, we'll check it out. And I don't know if it was her or her partner, but or just she knew the guy, but I think it was her. But they hopped the fence, because game wardens can do that, in the person's yard. And they don't see a tiger anywhere. They do see a leash, and they do see a doghouse. And they go in the doghouse and flash a light, and two gigantic green eyes are flashing back at them. And they hear a... and they just slowly back up, and they're like, there's a tiger in there. Now hold on, you haven't had the...
And there's a dog. And there's a dog in the tiger.
Hold on, you haven't heard the best part. Okay? Because even in Florida, tigers are just not a thing, right? Unless you're at Busch Gardens. Okay? 2 guys down in Miami somehow illegally obtained this thing. I think somebody owed him some money, and he had it illegally. And they asked, what on earth do you have a tiger for? And you are going to love this. This is as Florida man as it gets. It's a great way to meet girls. We got a tiger. You do not. We do too. You do not. We do too. Come on, we'll show. Oh, my golly, you always do have a tiger. How cool. So...
Can I pet him?
Once. Well, guys, that's it for tonight. I do have to go on time. I want to thank Ken and Steve and everyone else for joining us. Trey, Fran, Bruce, your ship is looking great. Your Dreadnought. I want to thank everyone that contributed to the viewers build. I'm going to run the outro for you for a few minutes so you guys can chat amongst yourselves. So, guys, I'll let you say your nights, and then we'll sign off.
Good night, everyone, and hope you enjoyed it as much as we did, and we look forward to you participating next week.
I noticed that some of the guys are talking about, why do you live in Florida? No snow. Exactly.
I love
There's
it down
no
here.
Snow here.
Wouldn't have it any other way.
It's a small price to pay for not getting killed by a snake or an alligator.
Say that when the polar bears get you and the penguins come out to feed on what remains.
It takes care of the homeless population.
What homeless population? Look, drag marks.
Because we don't got any here.
Okay, and on that, boys and girls, we will let you go. Take care of yourselves, and as always, muddle on.
Muddle on. Good night.
Farewell and adieu to you Spanish ladies. Farewell and adieu to you ladies of Spain. For we've received orders but to sail for old England. But we hope in a short time to see you again. We'll rant and we'll roar like true British sailors. We'll rant and we'll roar all on the salt seas until we strike soundings in the channel of old England. From you Chantilly is 35 leagues. We hove our ship to when the wind from southwest, boys. We hove our ship to deep soundings to take. 'Twas 45 fathoms with a white sandy bottom. So we squared on main yard and up channel and more. We'll rant and we'll roar like true British sailors. We'll rant and we'll roar all on the salt seas until we strike soundings in the channel of old England. All you Chantilly is 35 leagues.
like the weather. Make the welkin ring as we sing loud strong. Fill up the flowing steins again with foam on every lip. We'll give a score and shout your elastic fellowship. And when we idle overnight, we pass the waiting waves. May we drink to love all our live long days.
Now, let's see. Sprinkle? Okay. Any movement? No, nothing at all. It's working. Tom! It's working! It's working! Right. 500 turns each till we get to the top. All right.
The man in the cockpit is Murphy. World War II is ending. But Murphy's war has just begun. Director Peter Yates, who won international acclaim with the sensational thriller Bullet, now gives a new look to screen adventure with Murphy's War.
아무도 없다. 업체 안에 갔어. 나오너라.
Good evening.
Target in sight. Where in hell is Major Kong? Hey, what about Major Kong?
Spider-Man does whatever a spider can. Spins a web any size, catches thieves just like flies. Look out, here comes the Spider-Man. Is he strong? Listen, bud, he's got radioactive blood. Can he swing from a thread? Take a look overhead. Hey there goes the Spider-Man. In the chill of night, at the scene of a crime, Like a streak of light, he arrives just in time. Spider-Man, Spider-Man, friendly neighborhood Spider-Man.
Farewell and adieu to you Spanish ladies. Farewell and adieu to you ladies of Spain. For we've received orders like to sail for old England, but we hope in a short time to see you again. We'll rant and we'll roar like true British sailors. We'll rant and we'll roar all on the salt seas until we strike soundings in the channel of old England. From Ushantasili is 35 leagues. We hove our ship to when the wind from southwest, boys. We hove our ship to deep soundings to take. 'Twas 45 fathoms with a white sandy bottom, so we squared on main yard and up channel it made. We'll rant and we'll roar like true British sailors. We'll rant and we'll roar all on the salt seas until we strike soundings in the channel of old England. From Ushantasili is 35 leagues.
friends. Good cheer, my friends. Every kind of weather. Make the welcome ring as we sing loud and strong. Fill up the flooring slides again with foam on every lip. We'll give a score and shout, "Yellow, elastic fellowship!" And when we are along the line, we cast the waiting waves. May we drink to love all our livelong days.
Now, let's see. Franco? Okay. Any movement? No. Nothing at all.
It's working.
Tom! It's working! It's working! Right. 500 turns each till we get to the top. All right.
The man in the cockpit is Murphy. World War II is ending. But Murphy's war has just begun. Director Peter Yates, who won international acclaim with the sensational thriller Bullet, now gives a new look to screen adventure with Murphy's War.
아무도 없다. 어째 안에 갔어? 나오너라.
Good evening. Target in sight. Where in hell is Major Kong?
Hey, what about Major Kong?
Spider-Man does whatever a spider can. Spins a web any size, catches thieves just like flies. Look out, here comes the Spider-Man. Is he strong? Listen, bud, he's got radioactive blood. Can he swing from a thread? Take a look overhead. Hey there goes the Spider-Man. In the chill of night, at the scene of a crime. Like a streak of light, he arrives just in time. Spider-Man, Spider-Man, friendly neighborhood Spider-Man.
Farewell and adieu to you Spanish ladies. Farewell and adieu to you ladies of Spain. For we've received orders but to sail for old England. But we hope in a short time to see you again. We'll rant and we'll roar like true British sailors. We'll rant and we'll roar all on the salt seas until we strike soundings in the channel of old England. All you Chanticleer is 35 leagues. We hove our ship to when the wind from southwest, boys. We hove our ship to deep soundings to take. 'Twas 45 fathoms with a white sandy bottom. So we squared on main yard and up channel and more. We'll rant and we'll roar like true British sailors. We'll rant and we'll roar all on the salt seas until we strike soundings in the channel of old England. All you Chanticleer is 35 leagues.
up the flooring slides again, with foam on every lip. We'll give a score and shout, glory, lasting fellowship. And when we idle overnight, we cast the waiting waves. May we drink to love all our live long days.
Now, let's see. Sprinkle? Okay. Any movement? No, nothing at all.
It's working.
Tom! It's working! It's working! Right. 500 turns each till we get to the top. All right.
The man in the cockpit is Murphy. World War II is ended. But Murphy's war has just begun. Director Peter Yates, who won international acclaim with the sensational thriller Bullet, now gives a new look to screen adventure with Murphy's War.
아무도 없다. 어째 안에 갔어? 나오너라.
Good evening. Target in sight. Where in hell is Major Kong?
Hey, what about Major Kong?
Spider-Man, Spider-Man, does whatever a spider can. Spins a web any size, catches thieves just like flies. Look out, here comes the Spider-Man. Is he strong? Listen, bud, he's got radioactive blood. Can he swing from a thread? Take a look overhead. Hey there goes the Spider-Man. In the chill of night, at the scene of a crime, like a streak of light, he arrives just in time. Spider-Man, Spider-Man, friendly neighborhood Spider-Man.
ladies. Farewell and adieu to you ladies of Spain, for we've received orders like to sail for old England, but we hope in a short time to see you again. We'll rant and we'll roar like true British sailors. We'll rant and we'll roar all on the salt seas until we strike soundings in the channel of old England. From Ushantasili is 35 leagues. We hove our ship to when the wind from southwest, boys. We hove our ship to deep soundings to take, 'twas 45 fathoms with a white sandy bottom. So we squared on main yard and up channel did make. We'll rant and we'll roar like true British sailors. We'll rant and we'll roar all on the salt seas until we strike soundings in the channel of old England. From Ushantasili is 35 leagues.
Fill up the flowing steins again, with foam on every lip. We'll give a score and shout, "Go, elastic fellowship!" And the bathing waves. May we drink to love all our livelong days.
Now, let's see. Franco? Okay. Any movement? No, nothing at all. It's working. Tom! It's working! It's working! Right. 500 turns each till we get to the top. All right.
The man in the cockpit is Murphy. World War II is ending. But Murphy's war has just begun. Director Peter Yates, who won international acclaim with the sensational thriller Bullet, now gives a new look to screen adventure with Murphy's War.